So God created man in his own image. So they said, don't create a statue of anything in heaven, earth, but God created man, human. We were created in God's own image. So we're the only beings that were created in the actual image of God. So he told us, we're up here worshiping trees and things, but we were created in God's own image. So God created us in his image, and he created us to, a lot of times, kings, so we're talking about a kingdom, kings would, in a democracy, we don't worship the president, but in a kingdom, people do worship the kings.
Yeah.
And the kings, if they had a foreign territory, they would put a statue of themselves in that territory. And they would put it, so that statue represented their authority in the foreign land. So that was the purpose of it. And people would bow down. We saw Nebuchadnezzar, the 3 Hebrew boys, they got thrown in fire because they wouldn't bow down to the statue. So that they have statues of themselves. And so God created us in his image. So he created us to be his representatives here on earth. So we're supposed to represent God on earth. So Adam was created to be the image of God on earth. And then, but the purpose of him, in 128, he says, subdue the earth, rule over the fish in the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves on earth. So he created us as his representatives, but he created us to have dominion over every. So he said, don't make a statue of anything on the earth and everything, because he created us originally to rule over all of that was on the earth. We were supposed to have dominion over all the birds, all the fish, and he told us to subdue the earth. So if there was, like, if I was going on vacation and wanted you to watch my cats and dogs, I would say, hey, go over there, keep an eye on my house and my dogs. But if I said, or if I wanted you to watch my kids, I'd say, keep an eye on my kids, something like that. But if I told you to go subdue my house and my kids, that would have a whole different context. If wanted you to go to this prison and watch the prisoners, but if I told you I want you to go to a prison and subdue these prisoners, it has a different meaning. So if I'm telling you to subdue it, that means I want you to overpower whatever they were trying to do, and I want you to assert your authority and your rule over them. If I want you to subdue the prisoners or subdue the gangs in that area, I want you to put your will over whatever there was going to naturally happen there. So he told us to subdue the earth. So we're different animals than, so like cows will go and eat the grass. If the grass is all gone, they'll move somewhere else. Birds, if the wintertime, they'll have to move somewhere else. So they change based on nature. But we're a different animal because we're the only animal that we will change nature around us. Like we will go to a desert and say, hey, this isn't compatible for life, but I'll change this desert into a place that will support life. I'll bring water here. I'll make plants grow here because plants won't naturally grow here, but I'm going to change the earth to fit me, and no other animals can do that. So we were made to subdue the earth, and so we have a unique place in the earth and a unique responsibility that we were given on earth, in that we were supposed to subdue it. We were supposed to rule not just the animals on earth, but the earth itself. So we were supposed to rule it. And so one good example of that I saw recently was a treaty, United Nations, called the Montreal Protocol Treaty. So in 1987, a bunch of countries got together and decided we want to solve the problem with the ozone layer. And so they decided that any ozone depleting substances, we're going to stop producing them. And so now over 98% of ozone depleting substances have been phased out around the world because a bunch of humans got together and made a decision. So 98%. So more than 136 billion tons of carbon dioxide emissions were prevented from 1990 to 2010. And the hole in the ozone over the Antarctic would be 40% bigger in 2013 if they hadn't made that treaty. And 2 million cases of skin cancer per year would have happened by 2030. But humans made a decision, we're going to do this and we're going to change the earth. And so that was our original intent for Adam. We were supposed to reign. So the kingdom of God, so the whole point is that the kingdom of God, the reign of God, his original plan was to do it through us. So the reign of God was supposed to happen through humans. That was the original plan.
That was before Adam sinned.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So before Adam sinned, and Adam was put in the garden. So the Garden of Eden was a special place.
Right.
So he was put in this place. You're going to rule earth from here. This is your cockpit. This is the headquarters.
Right.
And the Garden of Eden was unique because that was also where God would come. So God would come to the Garden of Eden. So that was God's place on earth where he could come, and Adam could come there. So he made a place where God could commune with man, and this is where Adam could rule the earth once. So the goal was man would rule the earth so man would take dominion over what would happen on earth, but he was in community with God.
Because Adam was without sin at that time, he
Right.
could be close to
allowed
God.
to, yes.
You can't be close to God if you have sin.
Right.
Really? Right.
Right. And so Adam's fall messed up
Separate-
everything.
put away.
Separated.
Yep.
He messed up the whole plan.
Yeah.
But it also says here that the Son is the image of the invisible God.
Yeah.
So Adam was the image, but that didn't work out well. But now Jesus is the new image. The Son is the image of the invisible God. the
And
firstborn
amazingly,
of
he
all
looks
creation.
kind of like Adam with 2 arms and 2 legs. You know?
Yeah. So so whether it was the physical image or image in the concept, not sure, but could be nothing that says differently. And so he's the image that God wanted Adam to be. So he came and was the image of God. And so we also see the same way the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden had man ruling, but he was in communion with God. But we see Jesus as God and man. So Jesus is now the ruler of the kingdom, but he is communing himself with God. So he came as God and man. So it's the same picture. The kingdom of God is represented within Jesus himself. So we have the man ruling with God, man ruling, with the community with God and ruling over the kingdom. So Jesus was this, stitching together of God and man, so he was able to accomplish what Adam couldn't do, what Israel couldn't do. Jesus was able to do. So we see a description that sounds a lot like the Garden of Eden. The tree of life is there. We got the river. So God is going to eventually restore it, and we don't need light. So God is there again. So now God is actually there, and it says, and we will reign. So it's referring to the saints. If you read earlier, so it's saying the saints, we're going to reign now with Jesus. So we're going to restore the original plan. We're back in a Garden of Eden-like place. God is there, and we're reigning. And so that is the conclusion of it. And so so God's plan started from Genesis, and then it goes through to Revelation, and we'll see. So that's the gospel of the kingdom of God. Somebody had to be.
Yeah, it was true.
But then I was thinking about this thing. We're going to be reigning with Jesus. We're going to all be reigning with Jesus. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Only Christians left. Who we reigning?
Who is it gonna
Who are we reigning?
We ain't with nobody.
Do you not know that we will judge angels? How much more the things of this life?
So it says we're going to judge angels. We're going to be ruling over all of the creation. So Adam wasn't beneath the angels when he was created. Adam was ruling everything that moved on the earth. And so if the serpent was moving on the earth, Adam was supposed to have dominion over him. But he gave it all away.
Yeah.
So when we get to the end, we're going to be ruling. We're going to have dominion over all the living creatures.